Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Benavides, and this is the first of weekly check-in videos that I will be posting, usually at the beginning of every week. Um, this week, not posting until today because I was a little bit under the weather earlier in the week. I'm feeling better now. But so you should see these earlier in the week. But in my check-in videos, the main goal is to try and provide you with information that will help you be successful in this course. I look over, I review with you any information that I think is important for you, content, information about upcoming assignments. I talk about the previous week's discussion posts and bring up anything that I want to clarify. I talk about that week's discussion post, that week's assignments. It's really meant, and also I answer sort of, sometimes a student might send me a question that I feel that the whole class can benefit from the answer to. So this is where I will bring that up as well. I don't discuss anything personal that you send me. You're free to send me, emails and not feel like I'm going to share them with everybody. It's just more in general questions that might be asked. And I don't share who asked it. I just say this was a question that came to me, and I think that this would be, beneficial for everybody to know the answer for in terms of content or assignments, that sort of thing. So, I usually start off by talking about the previous week's discussion posts, and I did grade everybody's week one discussions. Last week, I looked over your icebreakers, and it was really nice to view everybody's icebreakers. I really enjoy the icebreakers because it's a way to get to know you and for us to see each other. And um, I provided some comments in the icebreaker comment section. So if you haven't looked at those, please do so. Several of you in your icebreak videos talked about interest in trauma, and I mentioned to several people that the Widener Center for Social Work Education has a trauma certificate. If you're interested in that, the individual you would want to reach out to is Professor Rebecca Vlam, VLAM, and she is in charge of that certificate. So if that's something you're interested. We do have other certificates, so if you're interested, there's other things that the center offers, and you can always reach out to Carly King, who's the director of the online MSW program, for some other things that are offered. But since several of you talked about being interested in trauma. So, for the using frameworks in social work week one discussion, I think everybody did a really good job. Those are like the standard sort of, or the um, theories, perspectives, models, the person and environment, the biopsychosocial, trauma informed, that you were asked to learn about and apply to Anita and her family. Those are core foundational social work frameworks that we use in everyday practice as social workers. So it's important to become familiar with those. Another one is a strengths perspective that you will also be learning about in probably your practice classes, and maybe you heard about it in your social work 503 course, interpersonal processes, but we're also very strength-based profession. And you know, I appreciate when individuals, when in your week one discussion, when individuals uh, identified not only the challenges that Anita and her family are facing, but also identified the strengths. And so that's, we're a strength-based profession, but sometimes we miss that because all we see is challenges. And I understand that because, we want to help people. That's why we're here. So we're trying to think of what is happening? What are challenges, barriers that this family is facing, and how do we help them? But we also have to think about what are the strengths of the family, because it is those strengths that help us develop, along with the individual or family, interventions that could be successful for them, because they're the expert. And so, what are their strengths that they're going to bring in to this process is very important. So for the annotated bibliography, both the week one assignment and week one discussion, you were asked to find a journal article and conduct or complete, I guess I should say, an annotated bibliography. And I provided comments for everyone. Many of you have never mentioned of never having done an annotated bibliography. Some have said it's many years since you've completed one. And so it's normal, you're getting back into it. This is what this assignment, the purpose of this was to get you practicing, get you familiarized or refamiliarized with annotated bibliographies. And so I provided comments to everyone in terms of, this needs more to be elaborated on, or this isn't really a critique. I did not deduct points if you didn't quite get the summary or the critique right. And that's because I felt like this is a practice exercise, and that you tried doing it, to me, was enough that you earned the full points, even if you didn't quite get it this time. So, but I did provide guidance. So for instance, when, so journal articles, usually the authors always provide some sort of like summary of limitations, their own summary of kind of their own critique of the limitations of their own study. Citing that is not critiquing, is not your own critique. You're just summarizing their own critique of themselves or of their article or their research. That's not a critique. So you want to, there's a critique also is not just saying they should have used more men because they had too many females, or vice versa, or they should have used older adults and as well as younger adults. I mean, that's important, but what does that mean then? Does that mean that therefore your critique is that because of this, how they conducted the study, it wasn't reliable, it was not objective? What does it mean? That's what this is asking you. Not to summarize again what the authors did, but your own critique of it. So if you're saying they didn't have, they only had 8, they only had like a limited number of participants in the study. Okay, so that itself is not the critique. The critique is, so what does that mean? Is it not helpful, therefore? Is it biased? Does it open itself to being biased? So that's the critique part, right? So I did provide comments to everybody. Like I said, no points were deducted for not having done the critique exactly the way it needs to be. It's a learning process. So points are always deducted if something is late, or you did not respond to the number of peers as the instruction guidelines. So please make sure that you're always reading the assignment guidelines so that you know exactly, when is something due, how many people should I respond to, how long should it be, what's the length of my response or my initial post versus my response, because sometimes those things can change. So we're in week 2. We're going to be talking about the person and environment interaction in the social context. As you know, there's the introductions and the learning resources where you would go to see what the readings are and the videos are for this week. There is a week 2 discussion, a genogram activity, a week 2 discussion on checking in on your older adult interview. I just want to know where you are in the process, and I'll provide feedback, as well as a week 2 concept quiz. So for the week 2 discussion on the genogram, you're being asked to watch Mi Familia, which is a really good movie, and to create a genogram and attach it to your post, okay? Then you're asked to answer questions 2 and 3. Discuss how the family history, culture, and context affects the Sanchez family member that you chose. Now, you only have the information that's available to you from the movie, so it is going to be limited, and that's okay. I understand that. So your genogram is not going to have all the information that you would normally have if you sat down with a person and completed it, worked with them on completing a genogram. Do what you can with the information that you get from the movie, from the, about that character. And then in number 3, describe any issues that you encountered in doing a genogram. Was this difficult, easy? What did you learn that surprised you? How could this type of activity help a client? What are some strengths in using a genogram in sessions with a client? Okay. Your check-in older adult interview, week 2 discussion. This is just to see how you're doing. Have you identified an individual? Have you obtained consent, verbal and written? Remember, there is a consent form that must be completed. So once you have that, please upload it. You do not have to respond to peers, but you can. Feel free to offer any guidance or suggestions. Okay. And then the week 2 concept quiz. So you're being asked to answer these 2 questions. Number 1, from a systems theory lens, define the following concepts. Define family subsystems, define boundaries, family roles, homeostasis. Then discuss how systems theory is used in social work. How can you apply systems theory in working with clients, working in social work? So think about, maybe you have an example from a previous case, or from a previous client that you worked with where you were able to use systems theory, or think about in the future how you would utilize it. However you want to do this, but just discuss how systems theory is used in social work, the strengths of using systems theory in social work. And then number 2 is, after completing the readings on family assessment and listening to the podcast, which is one of the required, not readings, but it's podcast, discuss why context and culture are important in family assessment. Also, in what ways do ethics, values, and beliefs factor into family assessment? So you're asked to answer both of those questions. Your writing quality counts, so make sure to proofread your paper. Your concept quiz is due Sunday of week 2, so this coming Sunday. Your responses should be a minimum of 750 words and a maximum of 1,000 words per question, not total, but per question. You will complete this on a separate Word document and then upload it under, where it says to upload your assignment for week 2. Okay, so as I mentioned before, please make sure that you look at the assignment guidelines so you know when something is due. Like, for instance, week 2 assignment, the concept quiz is due on Sunday, but you want to see, when is the genogram activity due? When is that going to be, so, and do that for all of the discussions and assignments. When are they due? Do I have to respond? In some cases, as you saw in week 1, you didn't have to respond to anybody for the using frameworks in social work discussion post, but you did have to respond to somebody in the week 1 discussion annotated bibliography. So important to really read the assignment guidelines so you don't lose points in that way. Also, as I mentioned, I usually post these earlier in the week. I have not been feeling all that great this week, so you will normally see these more like on Monday than on a Wednesday. All right, everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and take care. Bye.